Hi, I'm Senna. As a Math and Science Honors Diploma scholar, I will be presenting the neurobiology and psychology behind adolescent addiction. This presentation highlights key takeaways of articles I analyzed in my literature review, which is linked in this slide. Addiction is a chronic disease that changes the brain's structure and function and thus strongly influences behavior. Genetic vulnerability contributes to the risk of developing an addiction, but behavior also plays a key role when it comes to reinforcing a habit, such as using substances. Addictive drugs and behaviors provide a shortcut to the brain's reward system by producing an excess of dopamine, which contributes to the experience of pleasure and plays a role in learning and memory. As neural mechanisms change with the progression of one's addiction, the individual's behavior to pursue drug use can further worsen their addiction. Adolescence is a time of dramatic changes in the brain. That said, adolescents are more susceptible to developing more severe addictions. Some psychological factors distinguish adolescents who are more prone to developing addictions than their peers. Human studies show that compared to control groups, adolescent addicts demonstrate an interest in both novelty-seeking and risky behaviors, which implies that predictions can be made for some adolescents in terms of whether or not they are more vulnerable to developing an addiction. It is difficult to say whether neurocognitive deficits are the cause or the consequence of addictive behavior in humans, although animal models provide evidence that impulsivity predisposes adolescents to smoking, alcoholism, and substance abuse. Neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to create and reorganize synaptic connections. Neuroplasticity peaks during adolescence, which explains why addiction often emerges during this stage. Neuroplasticity can restructure the brain's neural connections such that it becomes physically and psychologically dependent on substances, but it can also help restructure the brain so that it can learn to associate rewards with non-drug substances, such as food and exercise. This logic can be incorporated into treatment plans for addicts in order to support their recovery. However, more research must be done to determine to what extent neuroplasticity can serve as a solution for addiction. Immense preparation went behind the culmination of my literature review. I began by gathering all of my broad interests and brainstorming different topics I could research for my paper. I then narrowed my interests down to the functions of adolescent addiction. While this may seem like the easiest part of the process, it proved to be the most difficult since I had more ideas from my research than I could fit into one topic. The next step was to seek reliable, recent, and relevant articles for my paper. This was another difficult component of the assignment since it was unlikely to find articles that fully fit all three criteria. Once I was satisfied with my collection of articles, I read and analyzed these papers by thoroughly annotating them, which helped me summarize and defend my selection of the 6 articles. This was the most time-consuming aspect of the review, but it paid off as I wrote my literature review. I began by writing a rough draft, which included an abstract, introduction, several body paragraphs, and a discussion. Although the deadlines for submitting each specific section of the paper were intimidating, and writing the actual paper entailed extensive proofreading and revisions, this part of the process was not only the easiest, but it was also the most exciting. I got to include my own ideas of my topic while weaving in evidence from my selected articles. I even challenged myself to include an annotated bibliography at the end of my paper. After all these steps, I reached the ultimate goal of submitting a polished final draft. Having completed my literature review, I've learned invaluable knowledge about writing concisely, conducting meaningful research, and where my scientific interests lie that I'll continue to apply as I further pursue research. I couldn't have completed this task without the help of a supportive team. I would like to thank the Math and Science Honors Diploma program for providing me with the opportunity to pursue a topic of my interest via conducting independent research and composing a literature review. More specifically, I want to thank Ms. Blanchette, my project advisor, for giving me constructive feedback on my work and driving me to improve it. I would also like to thank Ms. Beshke, Dr. Sherman, and Dr. Douglas for providing us diploma students with insight on how to seek resources for our papers and how to actually write them. I hope this presentation has helped you better understand the precarious and complex nature of addiction and literature reviews. Thank you.